Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are taking a fascinating detour. We're looking for lessons in systems design in a pretty unexpected place.
The world of professional fish keeping, of all things.
Exactly. And our source material here is, well, it's particularly rich. We're looking at these notes from a blogger.
A self-described old software plumber.
Right. And he was planning this major upgrade to his own, quite elaborate fish room. And instead of just buying equipment, he went on field trips.
To local fish stores, yeah.
Yeah.
But not to look at the fish.
No, not at all. He was there to scrutinize their infrastructure, specifically the complex plumbing systems built into their rack units.
That's right. And that lends the perspective of someone who, fixes complex hidden systems for a living. That's really crucial here.
So what's our mission for this deep dive?
Our mission is to analyze this unavoidable trade-off that sits at the heart of, well, really any design, whether it's a physical building, a server farm, whatever.
The tension between function and form.
Exactly. And we're drawing directly from his observations in the piece, Notes on Fish Keeping, Part 170, the trade-off between aesthetic and accessibility of fish rack.
And the conflict he found really boils down to one simple but absolutely critical choice. Where do you put the pipes?
Do you go for that clean, invisible look? Or do you go for total uncompromising practicality?
Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
So if you walk into most commercial fish rooms or even some of these, really high-end hobbyist setups, you see a certain design philosophy.
Yeah, everything looks very clean, very professional.
The tanks are stacked, the filtration systems are humming along, but the plumbing, the valves, all the messy bits that make it work,
Yeah.
you just don't see them.
And that aesthetic control, that clean look, is achieved by sticking to the conventional design.
Which is?
The entire plumbing system is positioned discreetly at the back of the fish rack, tucked right up against the wall.
Okay, so if we know this choice creates operational headaches, and it must, what was the one clear benefit that makes it so popular?
It's the visual. The blogger put it perfectly. He said it's undeniably cleaner and more aesthetic.
Ah, so in a retail or any kind of public-facing environment, that's a huge win.
It's a massive win. The focus stays on the product, which is the fish, and the whole place feels professional, organized, inviting. You're basically protecting the brand experience.
You're selling the illusion that it's all effortless. The whole structure looks calm and passive.
Exactly. And that choice, picking form over function, it's often a calculated business decision.
How so?
Well, if a customer is choosing between a shop that looks pristine and one that looks like just a tangle of exposed PVC pipes,
The pristine shop wins every time.
it's already won the initial psychological battle, yeah?
Yeah.
They accept that future maintenance cost in exchange for the immediate aesthetic payoff.
But our old software plumber, he wasn't setting up a retail space. He was building a machine for efficient operation.
Right. And that's what led him to find what he called the intriguing exception.
These were the setups where the owner had just completely thrown out the conventional design.
Totally rejected it. They pulled the entire piping array, the drains, the supply lines, the valves right out front.
Exposing all the plumbing for everyone to see.
It's a choice that looks, well, to the untrained eye, it probably looks like chaos. It is functionally messy.
But this is where the deeper engineering lesson is, isn't it?
This is it. It's a radical move.
I have to imagine this is kind of the physical equivalent of open sourcing your code.
Yeah,
It might look ugly, but everyone can see exactly how it works.
that's a great way to put it.
So here's where it gets really interesting. What is the immediate overriding benefit of putting all your messy operational guts on display like that?
The primary gain is just unmatched accessibility for maintenance. It drastically reduces what you could call physical technical debt.
Because when you hide complexity, you make it way more expensive to fix later.
Exponentially more expensive.
Okay, let's break down that accessibility factor. Let's start with, say, failure detection.
Right. So the first, and maybe the most critical benefit, is instant leak detection.
Because everything's in plain sight.
Every single joint, every elbow, every valve, every single seal is right in your line of sight. If a pipe develops a tiny pinhole leak, you see the drip immediately.
Okay, so contrast that with the standard rear-mounted system.
With that system, if a small leak starts behind that heavy rack, where does the water go? It pools out of sight. Maybe it wicks up the wall or sits on the floor behind the baseboards.
But you don't know it's there.
You have no idea it exists until the water has pooled enough to finally creep out front, which could be hours later. A tiny pinhole leak becomes a massive structural problem.
That's a catastrophic failure just waiting to happen.
It is.
It really shifts the system from passively waiting for damage to um, actively monitoring its own health with basically zero effort.
Yes, the software plumber in him would see that instantly. Hidden code lets tiny bugs multiply until the whole system crashes.
Whereas exposed code means that microfailure is instantly detectable by anyone just walking by.
Precisely. And the second benefit ties right into that speed. Instant repairs.
Because you can see it, you can fix it.
You can locate the problem instantly, so you can fix it immediately. The source material really emphasizes how this eliminates the grueling task of moving a heavy rack.
You have to think about what that means. We're not just talking about a bookshelf.
No. You're talking about hundreds of gallons of water, multiple tiers of glass tanks, several hundred pounds of weight.
You're moving a fragile, complex, aquatic ecosystem.
You are. And the blogger, he described this horror scenario. A single $5 PVC elbow joint fails.
Okay.
And to access it, you need two people, you need temporary shoring, and you're risking sloshing, corrosive salt water all over your electrical system.
All while the system is actively failing.
That is just its friction built right into the design. But by pulling the pipes forward, that same repair takes, a few minutes with a wrench and a bucket.
The cost in labor and time just plummets to almost zero.
Exactly. And this isn't just about repairs, is it? It's the whole life cycle, including the initial setup or any future mods.
Right.
The blogger highlights the physical awkwardness of installation, trying to drill a feed hole or tighten a seal when you're reaching into a cramped, dark 2-foot gap.
Behind a fully assembled rack, it's a nightmare.
It is. You're working purely by feel, you're fighting gravity, you're probably using mirrors or headlamps.
That sounds like performing network cabling in the deepest, dustiest corner of a server closet, completely blindfolded.
That is the perfect analogy. And when the plumbing is exposed, installation is done out in the open. It's so much less physically awkward.
You have better leverage, better light.
Better sight lines. You can make sure every fitting is precise. Accessibility in this context is the difference between a clean, easy install and hours of frustration.
Okay, so the argument for the exposed design is, well, it's overwhelming on the maintenance front. Instant detection, low-friction repair, easier modification.
Yes.
But the blogger identified a separate benefit, something maybe even more universally applicable that goes beyond just saving time on upkeep.
Right. We're moving from maintenance liability to maximizing physical resources.
Space efficiency.
Space efficiency. And this is the argument that resonates not just with fish keepers, but with anyone operating in a fixed, confined physical space. Think data centers, tiny city apartments, workshops.
So how does just moving the pipes from the back to the front fundamentally change the usable footprint of the room?
It creates a permanent choice about where you allocate your floor space. If you go with the conventional rear-mounted plumbing, you are forced to maintain a permanent clearance gap between the rack and the wall.
And why is that gap essential?
Two reasons. First, the pipes themselves take up space, the diameter of the main drain, the elbows, all that.
Sure.
But second, and more importantly, you need access. Even if you only have to do that grueling task once every 5 years, you have to leave enough space to actually get back there and work.
Can't push the rack flush. So that gap, maybe 18, 24 inches, it's just gone.
It is permanently taken out of your usable floor space. It's an unavoidable tax that you pay for aesthetics.
That's fascinating. That non-functional space is just locked up for the entire life of the installation, just in case you need it.
Precisely. Now contrast that with the front-mounted plumbing.
Okay.
Because all the operational components, the detection points, repair points, modification points, they're all accessible from the main walkway.
The need for that rear access gap just vanishes.
It's gone. The entire fish rack can be pushed flush against the wall.
And that one small decision, just moving the pipes, suddenly reclaims 18 to 24 inches of floor space across the entire length of that room.
Yes. And the blogger was really struck by this. He emphasized that this design choice reclaims precious floor space in the room.
I mean, if you're running a 50-foot commercial fish room,
you gain 50 square feet of usable floor space.
50 square feet.
Yeah.
In a city like New York or London, that space could be worth thousands of dollars a year in rent.
It's no longer just a few inches. It's significant, valuable, functional territory that you've reclaimed. You can use it for storage, for wider walkways, or even for another rack.
So it moves the system from just functioning to being fundamentally efficient. You're maximizing density.
For the high-volume operator or the hobbyist who's crammed into a basement or a garage, The visual clutter is a very small price to pay for that massive gain in density and the elimination of maintenance friction. They're maximizing tanks per square foot.
All right, so we've laid out the two very distinct choices. We have the conventional design, which gives you the visual ideal, clean aesthetics, customer appeal.
Right.
And then we have the radical design, which is the operational ideal, unmatched accessibility, zero maintenance friction, and superior space reclamation.
And that brings us back to the synthesis of the software plumber's observations. His final conclusion was, well, it was pretty straightforward.
I'm going to guess. There's no single right answer.
There is no hard rule for which design is superior.
Because you can't optimize for two conflicting goals at the same time. You have to choose which one you're willing to compromise on.
Exactly. The decision, when you really strip it all down, is entirely dependent on the context. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the choice hangs on your specific space constraints and the practical needs of your operation.
So if you have unlimited budget, unlimited space, and you really care about visual branding,
You pay the maintenance tax and you hide the pipes. But if your operation is defined by the need for high density, low downtime, and maximizing every single square inch,
then the messy, exposed, accessible design is just functionally superior.
the mess becomes proof of efficiency, not a sign of failure.
So what does this all mean then? We've spent this deep dive talking about, aquarium logistics, but the principle here feels universal.
It really is.
Every time you design a system, physical, digital, organizational, you are faced with this foundational trade-off. Are you designing for the external view, the clean, minimal, aesthetic ideal where all the complexity is hidden away? Or are you designing for the internal operation, the practical, robust, accessible reality where visibility and maintenance are king, even if it means exposed plumbing or rough edges?
And I think the ultimate challenge isn't just choosing between the two. It's about understanding the true long-term cost of that aesthetic choice.
You're literally paying for that clean look.
You're paying with future hours of grueling repair work, with water damage liability, and with permanently wasted square footage. The cost of hiding the pipes is friction.
And that raises a really important question for you, the listener.
Think about the systems in your own life or projects. Maybe it's how you've organized your cloud storage, or the physical layout of your workbench, or the way your team's internal processes are documented.
Where might you be sacrificing functional efficiency and accessibility for just pure visual appeal?
And is that sacrifice really worth the operational inconvenience that it inevitably creates down the line?
Remember the old software plumber and his fish racks? Sometimes the ugliest things are the most optimized. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.